Hello, welcome to the show. It is December, and they are still playing soccer in Denver as the season to remember rolls on for the Pioneer men's team. Denver in the NCAA tournament, playing at Clemson in the national quarterfinals this last Friday. No score in the first half, no score until the 89th minute of the match, and then this. That is Denver's Alex Underwood with the beautiful assist off of a free kick. Courtney Ford on the other end with the header to make Denver 1 goal better than Clemson. 1-0 final, and Denver is on to the national semifinals for the first time ever.
For us, we had to be good in our lines defensively against Clemson. They're a fantastic team. They have fantastic individual players, but collectively we thought we could control the game and do that without the ball. We gave them a little bit more possession. We conceded that, but that was part of the game plan, and I think the guys executed that. I think when you go back and you watch the film, we got 8 to 12 chances in the game, and that's what you need at this time of the year.
So this is the 20th win of the season for Denver. That ties the school record set back in 1988. Denver is the only team in the country without a loss so far this season. The shutout against Clemson is the 14th of the year for the Pioneers, and they now have a trip to Houston coming up next. The College Cup is in Houston, starts on Friday. It'll be Denver facing Wake Forest, and the Pioneers will be ready for another pressure-packed match.
Coming off the Clemson game where there's 7,000 people there, and nobody thought we could win there. My guys played better with pressure. The bigger moment, the bigger stage, the more focus, the more resiliency my group has, the more togetherness my group has. And we talk about pressure, for me, Wake Forest has more pressure. They have 3 or 4, first-round draft picks. They have all these kids that are, getting all these accolades. They're on all these lists. They should be here, and they're expected to win this game, and we're the underdog. But for us, the pressure's on them.
And how about this? Jamie Franks played college soccer at Wake Forest. Wake Forest is coached by former Denver coach Bobby Moose, and Jamie Franks was an assistant under Moose for 3 years at Denver. So all kinds of stories and intrigue coming up on Friday for Denver in the national semifinals. And for Denver, obviously a lot of hard work and sweat and talent have gone into getting this far, but you got to have a little magic as well. And it just seems right that they get the goal that gets them into the national semis from Courtney Ford, a young man who had a long, hard road just to get to Denver to eventually become a big part of this Pioneer program.
I'm Courtney Ford. I'm a junior here at DU, and I'm a center back.
He was like a Bambi deer when I first saw him. His legs were all long, and he was just kind of learning how to use them.
We always have goals in place to be better on the field. It's the highest that we've ever been ranked as a program, but at the end of the day, we want to be one, and we're not one yet.
We knew that there was have to be a lot of development, but Courtney's wired different than others.
As a group, I think that we're ready for every challenge that we face.
He walks the walk, and I think that above everything, his story is what motivates him, what propels him.
Had a few road bumps. Lived in Kansas City. Split time with my mom and dad up until 2007, 2008. I spent every other weekend with my father. Those weekends, it was an abusive household, it was an abusive situation. I didn't know there was anything wrong with it. I thought that's how all dads were. I was a transformer, I was energetic, happy when I was with my mom, and then I was so scared to mess up anytime I was with my dad that I was a mute. I didn't talk, I tried to sleep as much as I could. Definitely some comments said where our lives were in danger. We ran, so we knew she loved Colorado, so we came here. And just to start over and clean sheet, and then from there on we had some other things to get over, but from there on it was just we wanted to get out of that environment.
For us, it is part of the story that we did know in the recruiting process. We take great pride in our human capital here, and I think when we have a foundation for success, and when we're laying the foundation of that, it's about getting really, really good people in there. And Courtney fit that bill, and that's why we were so attracted to him.
I was 12 and my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. I didn't really understand what that meant, but as the process went along, I started noticing how graphic and how serious it was. In Storm North, we trained all the way out in Dove Valley, and so that was about a 2.5-hour drive there and about a 2-hour drive back, and she was making that drive while she was in chemo. But we were able to fight it off together. She's strong and she's healthy now.
He's an amazing kid, and he's one of my favorite kids that I've ever coached or played with. He's selfless. Most kids that want to go pro, are just looking at it because they love soccer. He's doing it to put food on the table and to take care of him and his mom.
Go back and look in the scrapbooks and kind of look at pictures from where she was then and where she is now. You kind of have much more respect for it, But I mean, at the end of the day, I knew how strong she was, and she knew that we only had each other, so we had to get through it together. So because of it, I think that our relationship is stronger.
All right, best of luck to Denver coming up this Friday in the College Cup. Well, wait your turn is a very polite life lesson to learn, but it doesn't always work well in college basketball. Up next, the story on a young player at South Dakota who wasn't necessarily next in line, but has taken over as the team's top scorer in just her second season.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn.
Welcome back now to basketball, and every year in the Summit League there are a handful of breakout players that had a good season a year ago but are on the verge of being great players this year. And one of those is Allison Arns at the University of South Dakota. Last year as a freshman, she averaged 8 minutes and less than 2 points per game. Those numbers are up this year by a lot. Here is more from Kelly Stewart in Vermilion.
In basketball, there are coined phrases like Dick Vitale's diaper dandy. Another one, sophomore slump. Well, USC's Allison Arns doesn't fit any of these. After seeing sparse court time her freshman year, this Coyote sophomore is statting 21.1 points, 5.1 rebounds, 4.8 assists, 1.5 steals, and 35.6 minutes per game. And a lot of people are wondering, who is this Allison we're seeing?
I've kind of been asking myself that too, but I just say it's a new team, new coaches, a little bit of new everything this year. So we've had a few injuries, and I guess the chance was just kind of there, so I took it, and that's kind of it.
Needless to say, Allison is extremely humble when it comes to talking about her breakout season. A good problem to have. But someone who's happy to talk about the sophomore success, older sister and teammate Bridget Arns.
I played with her 2 years, and I kind of always knew she was capable of stuff like this, Last year she came into a new system, obviously, and was trying to figure it all out. And I think this year she settled in a lot more and kind of figured out the pace of the game. But I think from playing with her in high school, I think she's always kind of had this ability and had this knack to score around the rim and to defend people one-on-one. And I think her confidence and stuff like that has just reached a new level, and that has helped her do what she's doing right now, I guess.
Essentially, the Arns family is a gold mine of basketball talent. Though Bridget is in her senior year, younger sister Monica recently signed her NLI to play for the Yotes starting next season. But in this family, not all skills are basketball related.
What we learned about Allison when we went to go visit Monica during her home visit is how talented Allison is off the court. So here's a young lady who is a great student athlete, who also is raising her own breed of cattle. She's building her own barn. I don't even know how to do that, but she's doing that. She takes care of the family garden, tells her siblings where to plant what. She's a talented artist. The kid's unbelievable. She made her brother's wedding cake. The list goes on and on and on. So she has so many talents. She's such a spectacular young lady. We're really excited that we have the privilege to coach her.
So if you need some cattle raised, a barn built, a thriving garden, beautiful artwork, a cake baked, or perhaps a game-winning play, Allison Arns is your go-to gal.
Thanks to Kelly Stewart. Arns and the Coyotes off to a great start so far this season, and we have more women's basketball next, including IUPUI and Oral Roberts with 2 big Summit League wins over the Big 12 and the SEC. Welcome back to Inside the Summer League. Let's talk some women's basketball with Brad Newitt, our Summit League hoops analyst. And the stunner of the week, Newitt, at Oral Roberts wins at Oklahoma. The Sooners were the number 13 team in the country at the time, and ORU knocks them off.
Who would have thought Oral Roberts can go and win this game? And what a great win for Oral Roberts and for the Summit League. Probably the best non-conference win by far this season. And Oral Roberts did it, Tom. They did it with great defense, held Oklahoma to under 40% shooting. They outscored the Sooners by 18 in the second half.
They have a player, Oral Roberts. Dakota Beatty came off the bench in this game with 20 points. She is a transfer from Oklahoma State, played quite a bit as a sophomore at Oklahoma State 2 years ago. Could be a difference maker as we go forward here for ORU.
Certainly. She's averaging 14 a game, so she's fit in very well with this team already. Faith I am also playing very well for Oral Roberts. So you got those two really stepping up to the plate. And then Maria Martianas, I mean, rebounding the basketball almost 9 a game. She had a great game in this game against Oklahoma with 18 points, 13 rebounds. And so if you get all three of those players playing at that kind of level, watch out for Oral Roberts.
All right, Oklahoma had just beaten South Dakota State 2 weeks ago. Now back-to-back losses for Oklahoma to Kentucky, one of the top 25 teams, and then Oral Roberts. So this is a big win. Oklahoma picked to finish in the Big 12 just behind Baylor, a powerhouse, and Texas, and then Oklahoma. So great win for Oral Roberts. Elsewhere, IUPUI with a win over a major conference school. IUPUI at home in Indianapolis, they beat Missouri 73-45.
Yeah, they destroyed Missouri in this one. They forced 20 turnovers in the game, and we know that that's what IUPUI loves to do defensively. Held Missouri down to a low shooting percentage as well, below 40%. But then the thing that's really impressing me, Tom, about how IUPUI is playing right now is how well they're playing offensively. I mean, they've always been a great defensive team, but they shot over 50% in this game, including over 50% from the three-point line. If they can shoot that well and bring that with their D, another team that's off to a great start at 6-1 so far in their non-conference.
All right, speaking of that, they have a freshman named Holly Hoopengarner at IUPUI. She is shooting 56% on threes this year, averaging about 9 points a game. And we've talked about this. If they can get somebody along with Danielle Lawrence and Michael Rogers to score and do other things at IUPUI, they're going to be a serious Summit League contender.
And they really have needed someone that could shoot the ball really well from the perimeter. So if that's the third piece that goes along with that, great athleticism that's already on this team, that would really help make this a very well-rounded team for Austin Parkinson.
All right, IUPUI at 6-1, so is South Dakota State right now. The Jackrabbits have a huge game coming up this Friday against Green Bay. This will be good.
This will be good. These are two of the perennial top mid-major teams. In fact, Tom, right now when you look in the mid-major poll, they are 1 and 2 in the mid-major poll. And they've had great battles the last 2 years. Last year, South Dakota State really had a great opportunity to get a superb road win at Green Bay. Came up just a little bit short in that one. You got to think revenge on the mind of South Dakota State now they got Green Bay on their home floor here this year.
All right, Green Bay's only loss so far this season is to Notre Dame, the number 2 team in the country behind Connecticut. Another team having a good preseason season so far, pre-Summit League season, is Western Illinois. A win over Bradley on Monday night, 91-77. They score a lot of points again. Western's the only team in the Summit League right now averaging more than 80 points a game.
Well, this team can flat outscore the basketball. Emily Clemens, a big reason why. I mean, she is really shooting the ball very well. She had 23 points in that win over Bradley, and not only just shooting the ball well, but she's also running the point guard, Tom. She had 8 assists in that game as well. Morgan Bloomer coming alongside her as a great offensive player too. Those two right now are 2 and 3 in the Summit League in points per game. So if that continues, you got a great 1-2 punch there going at Western Illinois on the offensive end.
Yeah, Bloomer at 16 points a game. She sat out last year after transferring in from Florida Gulf Coast, so another new player that's making an impact in the league. Western Illinois at home on Saturday against Eastern Illinois. North Dakota State is at home against North Dakota. And we talked about that South Dakota State-Green Bay matchup on Friday. How about IUPUI at home on Saturday against Ohio? Ohio is the number 4 team in the mid-major rankings. That's going to be good.
That's going to be another good one, and that'll be really a good measuring stick to see where is this IUPUI squad. They've had a nice non-con so far, but that'll be a big test for them.
If they could get that win, might get them into the mid-major rankings. There's 2 Summit League teams in the mid-major right now in the top 25. South Dakota State is number 1. South Dakota is number 12, and we'll see if maybe IUPUI can leap in there this week if they can beat Ohio. All right, Fort Wayne and North Dakota State are still repping the Summit League in men's basketball in the mid-major top 25 poll, but it is Omaha with the win of the week. We'll talk some men's hoops coming up next. Welcome back now to men's basketball in the Summer League. Fort Wayne, North Dakota State, and University of South Dakota still the top 3 teams in the standings right now, knew it. But how about Omaha? The Mavericks go to Iowa City on Saturday. They beat the Hawkeyes of the Big Ten 98-89.
And they did it in kind of an unusual Omaha way, in my opinion. They played fabulous defense. They held Iowa to 40%. Omaha, they're trying to outscore you. Now, they still had a great game because they put over 90 points on the board. So it was the offense that certainly propelled them. But great defense, great rebounding as well. They out-rebound the Hawkeyes in this game. They had great balance and scoring, too, with 4 players in double figures.
Omaha's first win over a Big Ten team, and they got 17 from Trayshawn Thurman. Tradeon Hollins had 11 assists. Another guy for Omaha, Mitch Hahn, had 15 points and 5 rebounds in this game. He's 6'8", transfer from Holy Cross, sat out last year, but he's averaging about 8 points coming off the bench right now, and this has been a big boost for Omaha.
Yeah, they needed some interior play to help go along with Thurman, and so for Hahn to be that guy stepping up, that's been huge for them. Another player, too, Zach Jackson. Keep an eye on this kid. He played last year as a freshman, only averaged about 3 a game. He's up to about 12 a game. He had 21 in that win over Iowa.
Right, Omaha did come back to earth on Monday. They lost by 44 at Iowa State. A little bit of difference this year between Iowa and Iowa State, but still, big win there for Omaha. What about Oral Roberts? Knew it. They're 1-7. They've lost 6 games in a row, but they go to Michigan State on Saturday, and they almost beat the Spartans, end up losing by 4, 80-76.
This would have been a huge shocker, and even the score itself was a bit of a surprise because Oral Roberts had certainly had plenty of struggles. They had played at Oakland just a few days before, and that one was not a close game, but they go to Michigan State. They hang with the Spartans for almost basically the entire game, and they do it with getting no production off their bench as far as points. Only the starters score in this game, but they do a great job rebounding the basketball. They had 14 offensive rebounds. They really did a nice job of just playing with a lot of energy in this game, and they shot it fairly well from 3 as well, hitting 8 threes.
The bench scoring was 56-0 in favor of Michigan State. But Oral Roberts this year, they have a kid named Emmanuel Nezekwezi. He's 6'8", redshirt freshman. He's originally from the Netherlands, went to high school in Texas, but he had 21 points and 13 rebounds in this game against Michigan State, and he has been huge so far this season for Oral Roberts.
Well, and you put him with Albert Owens, already a very good interior player, and Oral Roberts looks like maybe they have one of the best front lines in the Summit League. Now, how do they translate that into some wins? They've had a few injuries at the guard position. They need to get back healthy there, and I think if they can do that, maybe start getting some traction heading into January, maybe they can start rolling up some wins.
All right, Oral Roberts plays at Oklahoma on Wednesday night. Elsewhere, South Dakota is 6-3 right now. The Coyotes played at Nebraska on Saturday. The Huskers won the game by 12, but this was USD head coach Craig Smith going up against his old boss in Tim Miles.
Yeah, so homecoming for Craig Smith in a way, getting to play against Tim Miles. And Nebraska, they blitzed USD to start this game. It was not close, almost a 20-point lead kind of right out of the gate. But credit USD, Tom. They hung in this thing. They clawed their way back in it. And it ends up being a fairly close game in the end. The problem with USD, they just struggled offensively in some of their games here of late. This was no exception. They shot below 40% and had 18 turnovers, and that's something they're going to have to get corrected.
All right, Matt Mooney had 18 in that game at Nebraska. Another guy new to the Summit League this year, transfer from Air Force. He is leading USD in scoring right now at about 15 points a game. South Dakota State has won 3 games in a row, and this is a surprise considering how bad the season started for the Jackrabbits, but they get a win over former Summit League member Kansas City.
And I thought probably their most pronounced win as far as just really putting together a complete game. Played well on both ends of the floor, but I think especially offensively, this team is really starting to find an identity. In their last 3 games, Tom, they've shot over 57% in all 3 of those. They did not take good care of the basketball in this one, and that almost cost them with 22 turnovers. But Mike Dahm continues just to be the productive guy for this team. Again, 22 points, 9 rebounds, and he doesn't need a lot of shots to do it. Just 10 shots in that game to get to 22 points.
All right, Dahm is second in the league right now in scoring behind Garrett Covington. North Dakota State is still at 6-3. They've got a couple of games of home and home coming up against the University of North Dakota. That's going to be interesting. And then there is Fort Wayne on top of the league at 7-2 right now. Got the win over Indiana, and they're playing Notre Dame. Unfortunately, they're doing it as we are about to record this show. So Notre Dame is 8-0 right now. Not a lot of big wins in there for them, but any chance of another upset win for Fort Wayne at Notre Dame?
It's going to be a lot tougher this time. Notre Dame's going to be on guard. They know what happened in the Indiana game, and it's at Notre Dame. So a true road game for Fort Wayne. But boy, what a huge win that could also be for the Mastodons.
All right, coming up this Saturday, Fort Wayne, Western Illinois, South Dakota State, Oral Roberts, Omaha, all at home on Saturday if you want to get out and see a men's basketball game in the Summit League. Coming up next, some swimming and diving in Omaha.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn.
Well, we have basketball and swimming and diving and indoor track and field going on in the Summit League right now. And the next championships coming up on the Summit League calendar are swimming and diving. They will be held in mid-February in Indianapolis, hosted by IUPUI. The women's team at Omaha got in a mid-season meet this past weekend in the Mutual of Omaha Invite.
This meet is very important for us because we focus on preparing for a conference meet, so this is kind of a chance to see how everything is working. So we get a chance to see how people are going out after it, see how people come home. We have great competition from Northern Iowa, Northern Colorado, so it's really a good environment for us to swim fast.
Omaha's Morgan Stepp set a school record in the 500 freestyle. She also finished second in the 200 breast with a season best time of 2:22.27. And Omaha freshman Andrea Brosnahan earns Summit League Diver of the Week honors, wins the 1-meter dive competition, and in doing so, clinches a berth in the NCAA zones. That is the first time a Maverick diver has done that in the Division I era at Omaha. And we'll see you next week on Inside the Summit League.